Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus. Hey, could you name the next game something less gross? Having now repeated the phrase rebirth, not so bad. Afterbirth I've repeated like probably close to 1,000 times by now in the past year. I think it's having an eroding effect on my mental health. Anyway, Ryson, good lord. EYCP. With a full health pill to start it up here. I meant to, like, we just finished that daily. In real meat space right now, we just finished the daily. But in reality, I was like, oh, I'm gonna finish this daily. And I'm gonna go record another Isaac episode. But I was like, I'm a little hungry. So I got a little snack. And then I was like, I'll watch a YouTube video. And then I watched half an hour of Vine compilations. I am human trash. I don't know what it is, but like something about those little 6-second bits of entertainment, it gets me every time, man. It's just like if one of them's trash, the next one is gonna be, you know, another chance at greatness. Something that, like, I don't know, man. Vine is like, I'm sorry to see it go, but I love to watch it leave, because now there's some reverence for it. Please don't shoot me. Spirit hearts? No spirit hearts. Let's try to get some spirit hearts. Hey, geez, I don't even know, like... We'll start with the item room, I guess. But taking some damage we shouldn't be taking. I think it's like... Oh, please? I think it's actually like half the lack of context that makes Vines potentially be funny. Like that one that's like, yo, Derek, stop, you're gonna get in trouble. It's just a dude like kicking his legs. And then it ends with him being arrested for reasons that, you know, are not described over the course of the video. At their best, I don't know why I'm describing it like a Lifetime Achievement Award. At their best, Vines tickled our imagination. Presented challenging content without spelling it out for the viewer what they were looking at. And coined such iconic phrases as, a free Shivakadu! Anyway. This is, you know, I don't want to get too dramatic here. If we beat this guy, we'll probably win this run. Okay, we beat him. We're definitely going to win this run. No, this is too dramatic. See, I just said I wasn't going to do it, and then here I go, making bold claims again. But now that we got some HP, we're in a much better situation, obviously. I was kind of hoping... Excuse me, sir. I was kind of hoping that the way that this was going to go down is, he would give us an HP upgrade and then we'd be kind of set. And then I was kind of hoping, you know, we'd walk into this room and we'd find a bunch of spirit hearts. Or at least one spirit heart. And we're not at that point in our life yet, unfortunately. Excuse me. You're taking too long to murder. This is an outrage. Okay. I think we want to try to reroll. That way we can pick that up. And I stand by that decision until the end of flippin' time. Don't you dare. Thank you. Don't you dare shoot your troll bomb at me. Don't you reduce my inflated HP. Don't ya? I'm a product of the era in which I grew up, okay? Kids these days, they're so entitled they don't even know classics like the Pussycat Dolls. An all-time great band. When we talk, I think I've told this story myriad times in the past, but I worked with somebody many years ago who, whenever they would get intoxicated, they would talk about how the only reason bands like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Who and etc. Are revered is because of the fact that they're old. And, you know, they weren't respected in their modern era. And you're like, okay, that might be true, except for the fact that, you know, like, obviously, all of those bands were exceptionally popular in their contemporary era to begin with. But then, secondarily, he would always spin it off and be like, and that's why, like, in 20 years, the Black Eyed Peas are gonna be as respected as the Beatles. And everyone was like, don't know about that one. I was gonna use his real name. He's a class act. He's just wrong about this, and that's okay. And I mean, he could still be right, but let's be real. It's been like 8 years since he made this bold claim, and I don't hear that much about the Black Eyed Peas anymore. But maybe they're just lying in wait. You know, maybe they got a new album coming out. It's gonna be like their Sgt. Pepper's. I always thought, you know, Let's Get It Started was really like their Hey Jude. So we took Hemolacria. It's an item, it's incendiary. It gets the people talking. I am not a huge fan of it, but I will almost always take it in a Whoa, what have you done? I will almost always take it in a situation where we have some other kind of tier effect that could transform it. Like right now, our rate of fire is actually pretty good, all things considered. And then secondarily, the homing tiers, I actually think, make Hemolacria much, much better. Oh, that was close. We're gonna put that theory to the test, though. Yeah, we can afford to go Rotten, baby. Our damage isn't that amazing, but it's still probably worth trying out here. And, I'm trying out, so you better get the synergistic. I'm trying to say... kids these days don't know about classics like Pink. Everyone's always like, ooh, Kendrick Lamar. Ooh, James Blake has another electronic masterpiece. Yeah, well, have you ever heard of, hold up a second. Eden's Crush, the band that won Canada's version of Making the Band, aka Pop Stars? Who sang, and this is like, I'm trying to... There's all these songs, when you think back to like this years that you're nostalgic for, which for me is not really the early 2000s, but you know, people always remember like, oh, remember Backstreet Boys? Remember NSYNC? That was the best of the boy band era. And it pains me to say, because like, you know, I have no fondness necessarily for, I've watched my particular generation get older and be like, oh, I love the classics like the Backstreet Boys, and just looked on with horror and derision in my true snobby nature. But then you gotta remember, there's always these like classic songs that got forgotten because they suck. Like, Get Over Yourself, Goodbye. So something say that, Get Over Yourself, Goodbye. Who wrote this song? Eden's Crush! I knew it. American musical group Eden's Crush. Eden's Crush was made from Pop Stars, which is American. I didn't know. I thought it was Canadian. And it has Nicole Scherzinger from the Pussycat Dolls. What are the odds? Okay, wait. Canada. There was a Canadian version. Canada Pop Star. Not Pop Stars Never Stop Stopping. The Pop Stars series. Canada. Sugar Jones. That's it. I know that's going to sound like nobody else knows what I'm talking about, but there was an era, and many of you will have lived through it, like Hole. But see, if you didn't watch all the recent episodes, there's a little callback that doesn't make much sense. But if you lived through it, you remember it. If you didn't live through it, like, congratulations. It was at the intersection of, like, bad pop music and reality TV being invented. And we're like, what if we could combine bad music with bad television? And that's how we got, you know, Making the Band and Pop Stars. And you might think that I'm gonna be talking about American Idol here. It's not the case. American Idol was a little different. I almost, even though it's essentially the progenitor to everything I hate about modern television, like clips from America's Got Talent flooding YouTube, and you're like, you won't believe that this ugly person can sing. That sounds harsh, but that's like, half of those clips are like, look at this piece of human garbage. Don't they look like absolute trash? And then they open their mouth and a beautiful tone comes out. Weren't you wrong to have judged them? I didn't judge them. Don't leave that to me. Susan Boyle gets up there, everyone's laughing. Look at this old lady. She's kind of chubby and old. She opens her mouth and she can sing. Whoa, what are the odds? I don't know. What are the odds that the average person's a good singer? Like 1 in 100? That's not that unlikely. You won't believe that this person over the age of 30 has a talent that could be applied in the entertainment industry. Anyway, it's so uplifting when you judge people and then you're wrong and they surprise you. I'm just being salty. Those are like my favorite clips. It's like those, and then there's also like the alternative direction is like, kid does something you wouldn't expect him to be able to do. Look at this 10-year-old yo-yo champion will blow your mind. And well, you got me. I didn't really come in with high expectations, and then he did blow them out of the... That must have taken a lot of practice. That must have taken like 6 years out of his short life so far to get this good at yo-yoing. I hate those clips. They used to get shared all the time. Now it's mostly Jimmy Kimmel. So, you know, I don't know. Is that progress? Maybe, maybe not. You won't believe this celebrity can dance. But yeah, you couldn't shake a stick in like the year 2001 without coming across a music-driven reality TV show. Pop stars making the band. There were so many that there was actually a show called Together with a 2 instead of a T-O. And it was a satire of boy bands and reality TV shows, mockumentaries, or documentaries, I should say. And then beyond that, it aired on MTV, which is just outrageous. It's like an incredible sign of self-awareness. It was a different time. Help me. Good lord. Quite the maze there. I don't mean to be bitter. I'm actually not as much of a snob as I used to be, and I've said this many times. I don't care what you listen to. Great shot, dude. That was like a direct hit. I listen to a lot of garbage. I call it garbage, but I still listen to it. And I think you should be entitled to listen to whatever garbage you want to listen to as well. I don't know. We're not doing anything with that. Let's take tonsil. I don't even know what it freaking does, man. Hemolacria with piercing shots? Is this might be terrible. I think we've had this before and I thought it was horrible, but let's see if we can work the turkey through. I'm just happy we're not in that era anymore. I always see, especially, you know, I'm not going to go through the whole extended bit again, but on YouTube you always see people talking about posting on, you know, like a Finger 11 music video, and they're like, I was born in the wrong generation, and I'm like, no, you weren't. You're so lucky you don't even... I lived through Simple Plan. I didn't hate it at the time, but it's not, you know, I have no fond memories for the soundtrack to, you know, DJ Qualls' The New Guy. I'm just a kid and life is a nightmare. That's not music that's easy to listen to as a 30-year-old. Is like a 19-year-old whining about pretending to be 17. Nobody cares 'cause you're alone and the world is having more fun than me. Yeah, the twice divorced single father slowly drinking himself to death is having more fun than the 16-year-old who gets sad at school sometimes. I'm not saying that like school's a very stressful time for a lot of people. I'm just saying it's a very tone deaf song, I think. It's like there's a song by I don't know, they're like a Canadian. I was gonna say they're a Canadian Sum 41. But Sum 41's also Canadian. So is Simple Plan. What were we doing? Canada must have sucked to be 16 in 2004. Oh, wait a minute. Crunch his numbers briefly. Anyway. There's a band called Gob, I think. They got a couple songs that are classics. You know, I Want to Jump in a Lake, Sunshine Down on a Beach in the Summer. Give Up the Grudge. It's got a certain little pop-punk charm to it. Then they got... Wait, no, this is Give Up the Grudge. Wait, I got it wrong. I Hear You Calling is the one, the little pop-punk charm. But they got the song. Your Mercedes won't start. Hey, that's a crying shame. Guess 90K a year buys nothing but complain. I'm like, wait, that just strikes me as incredibly rude. Somebody comes up to you and is like, oh, how's your day, Tarek? It's always Tarek. How's your day, Tarek? Oh, my car wouldn't start, so I had to, like, take a cab here this morning. Oh, my Mercedes won't start, so I was late for work. Why are you being such a jerk, you know? Sure, he's got a Mercedes, but, like, at the same time, like, yet still, your car doesn't start. That's stressful, I'm sure. I wouldn't know. I'd drive a Ford Focus with a transmission that's busted if Canada won't even look at it or acknowledge that there's a problem that exists, because that would make him culpable in the ensuing class action lawsuit taking part in Canada and the United States right now. But disregarding that, I hope, like, you know, even if, let's say I worked for a dude, or a lady for that matter, and he owned a Rolls Royce, And I say, oh, how's your day, Damien? By the way, he is the son of Satan because he owns an expensive car. And he was like, you know, I tried to get to work today, but my rolls wouldn't start. Oh, my expensive car wouldn't start. I had to pay the dealer $75,000 to fix it. My life's so hot. That's a stressful situation. I'm sure. I mean, it's like the classic, this person can't complain because obviously they don't have problems because they're rich. You just want to take them over to, like, Burkina Faso. I didn't want ketchup on my burger, but they put ketchup on my burger. That must be so hard for you. With your infinite resources relative to me. Said that song, it's always struck me as extremely mean-spirited. The people in my neighborhood think that I'm a threat, but as the boss gets richer, they get deeper in debt. See, that's kind of like a salient point about the, you know, growing income inequality. This is quite prescient of them. But I don't know, the people complaining in that song seem to be Gob to me, who I keep wanting to call G-O-B, but I don't think that's the way their name was supposed to be. I know you're saying, NL, it's just a song, it's just a song. Songs don't have to be real. But if a song's gonna whip people up, if it's gonna be an anthem for a generation, it's gotta make some kind of coherent sense. It's gotta stand up to the rigor of scrutiny, I think, to some extent. Like lifestyles of the rich and famous. Oh, they're always complaining. Always complaining. What are you talking about? Everybody's always complaining. If money is not your problem, you got so many problems, think we should, doesn't he say, I think we should rob them? You're like, rich people complain too much, we should take their money. What are you talking, that's a criminal threat. Joel Madden. Wait, not Joel Madden, he's like no, Steve Madden is a fashion designer. It is Joel Madden, right? Joel Madden and then Benji Michaels? I don't remember. I don't know. I take issue with a lot of pop punk from that era. I listened to a lot of Treble Charger when I was a kid. Mostly because I loved the NHL franchise of games. I remember, so Treble Charger, if you're not familiar, they had a song in exactly the same vein called American Psycho that if you... Legend says that if you turn it to an alternative radio station at 2:30 a.m. on Wednesday, April 17th of a year ending in the number 3, you can still hear American Psycho played by a real human being on a playlist. Now I know how far you go to be the next freak show, American Psycho. It has nothing to do with the movie, by the way, except they share, or the book, I guess, except they share a title. So I bought that album, which was called Brand New Low, and I was like, this is the best album ever made. Spoilers, it isn't, but I was 13. And then they came out with another album in 2003, and I was like, this album kind of sucks. But at the same time, I had already committed to being part of the Treble Charger fandom, and I was like, let's buy low. These guys are going to be around for a long time. And I put up the album art from the album I didn't even like in my locker in 9th grade. And then I was stuck with it for like the whole year. Every time I looked at it, I was like, why did I put up this stupid... I could be listening to much better stuff. It's 2002. It's the prime of the Avalanches. And I'm not talking about Colorado, although they did win the cup the previous year. Help! Oh, that was close. Anyway, I digress. What are we doing on this run? We're on Dank Depths 1. Okay, we can actually make boss rush. The run's fine. I guess, like, we should really do the It's the Key challenge, because apparently Unicorn Stump just does not exist. I forget the It's the Key challenge. It's like, you can't... Let's look it up right now. It gives us something to talk about. It's the Key Isaac. I keep seeing information about it. Keys are allowed. Any other consumable is not allowed. Hearts, bombs, pennies... Tarot cards are okay. Item rooms are okay to enter, and items are okay to take. And then you need to beat the lamb. Okay, cool. We'll try it. Maybe, I'm not guaranteeing that we're going to try it in the next episode, but it's on my radar, rest assured. Right now I'm just treating, and I think the episodes are going relatively well, but I'm you know, treating these Isaac episodes as kind of like my daily meditation to some extent. I gotta be real with you, dude. Like, I don't think I suffer from, like, a diagnosable mood disorder. And I know that sounds like something who does suffer from a diagnosable mood disorder would say. But I have previously been of the opinion, like, I don't know if you know this, Vancouver, it rains a lot. Like, it rains a staggering amount. And every winter, like, where, you know how if you live in a different part of the world where it snows, it might snow, like, once every 3 days in the winter? Imagine that whenever it snowed, it rained instead, but then, like, for twice as long. I'm not saying we have it worse, because the temperature is 10 times better. I love the climate here, but every winter, people would be like, you know, oh, it's the winter and I'm sad. And I'm like, I don't get it. I get that it's irrational and, like, it's not like you're trying to will it into existence, but I don't get it. I don't mind the rain at all. And then this January into February, which is when I'm recording this right now, it rained for, like, literally 40 out of 50 days in a row. And I was like, I don't know why, but I feel horrible. I think I've finally been struck by the, like, vitamin D deficiency of living, you know, in the rainiest part, maybe not the rainiest part of North America, but it's got to be close. Sometimes I've said that and people are like, well, Seattle's the rainiest part. And I'm like, dude, it's the same. We're in the same... We're kindred spirits. So yeah, I mean, I think having, like, an outlet like this to talk about whatever comes to mind has been a positive thing. Like, that a couple of weeks ago, that soapbox episode came out, I was feeling, like, real bad. Rough. I mean, not real bad, but I was, like, not in the greatest of moods when I recorded that episode. And that's the one where I talked about, like, you know, even though what we do is satire on YouTube, do we have an obligation to, you know, treat things with decorum and respect, and, like, beyond that, you know, do we have, I would say, an obligation to have evidence for the things that we say if we're gonna encourage them? Like, I do, these are the things that kind of, you know, the long tail concerns I have about, you know, my role in this industry is, like, am I being part of, like, an endless cycle of negativity that just is essentially meant to feed clicks at the expense of, like, really, like, YouTubers, they get a lot of negativity, but we reflect a lot back on the developers, I think, as well. Hold up here. Anyway, that was covered in a recent episode, so I'm not going to worry about it here. I'm also not going to worry about going to Boss Rush. What I'm going to do is explore a little bit. So I recorded that episode, and after I recorded it, this happens maybe like once every 2 months, I was like, oh my god. People are gonna hate that. And then this is always the result. People always tweet me and they go, hey, I really like that episode. It was like one of the best episodes you've recorded recently. But because it's real, I'm, like, afraid of the response. But the point is, like, I felt a lot better after I had talked about it. I think it's like Isaac is not even about you guys anymore. Sorry, nerds. It's about me. It's about me and having an outlet to, you know, talk about what's going on. Not necessarily in, like, a therapeutic or the vloggy sort of way. Just like, I have looked at this room incorrectly. Just in the way that's kind of, I don't know, it's like a nice daily routine for me. NLSS doesn't really work like that. Sometimes it gets there, but that's not really what it's designed for. It's more of like I don't want to call it a comedy show, because it's kind of, you know, but, like, it's kind of what we're going for, if we're being honest. But to say it makes it sound like we're putting on airs, but that's not really what I were intending here. I did dump that last run, because I thought that this was a worthwhile attempt. We weren't necessarily thrilled with our setup, so to reroll it doesn't feel too bad. But now we got, like, some weird Ludovico technique that also turns into syringes and is conjoined, and we must have spun maybe then? Or that might be euthanasia, I don't know. And then Slay the Spire is the easiest game to record for now. But that's because, like, oh dude, this is a cool synergy. That's because essentially, like, 95% of the narration is what I'm doing or what I'm planning to do later. So, like, Isaac exists in this weird kind of unique realm where it's really just one dude rambling, and it's very strange. You might be saying, I've had people for years that are like, how the heck have you done 3,000 episodes of this and you don't run out of things to talk about? And I'm like, I know. It's crazy, but I don't know, it just, We recycled some stories from time to time, but I always try to bring a little bit of new light or perspective to them, as, you know, I've been doing this series long enough that if I bring up a story twice, it might have been 2 years since the last time, and my perspective has changed a little bit. Sometimes, not always, of course. I think we should Emperor card out of here. Like, Wife Taffy tweeted me the other day and was like, you gotta stop doing these Isaac episodes at some point, right? And I tweeted her back, and it's just banter, but I said, like, I'm just getting started. And it's kind of a joke, because, I mean, I've done thousands, but on the other hand, one day I will be free. But I kind of do feel like I'm just getting into the groove, you know? You know, they say it takes 10,000 hours to become a master at something. I'm like a third of the way there. Plus, like 8 times as many people watch these as watch the Factorio series, so there's like a lot of incentive for me to keep them up. As much as I love being slightly inefficient in Factorio, and I like, this is not me foretelling the death knell of Factorio, by the way, which is an amazing game that I like a great deal. I'm just saying, people clearly like watching Isaac. As much as I like playing it, I don't know. I mean, I think we'd be in pretty close competition there. It's just nice to have a game where you can, like, and I don't get a lot of games like this because, you know, I'm bad at video games relative to the super user, but a game where you can zone out, talk about whatever you want, use it as an edge. You can always refer back to the game for a little bit of commentary, but, you know, and still have a reasonable chance to succeed. So it's a level of proficiency I don't often reach, largely because, as you've seen, it apparently takes me like 40 hours to do, or 40 hours, excuse me, maybe like 400 hours, which is not even that long in the whole scheme of things as compared to the series, but anyway, I digress. We're moving along here. So yeah, actually I looked into, hold up. We probably, I mean, we definitely do want that. We don't want that at all. What do we, have we chaosed? We must have, yeah, we do have chaos. Okay. We also have the mulligan, which is awesome. But I looked into buying, like, a vitamin D lamp. And I came across this invention that many of you are probably familiar with. It is one of these inventions that is actually, like, it makes me think that once it catches on, it's going to change the world in its own small way. It's going to take a while, because right now, what I'm going to tell you, I'm going to preface this by saying it's a glorified alarm clock. And it's like over $100, Canadian at least. So, what is that, like 4 cents American? The Dow Jones just crashed, my dude. Do you watch the news? Anyway, it's an alarm clock, and I'm sure many companies make them now. But what it does is, you know, most alarm clocks, you go, hey, I want to wake up at 6:45. You set it for 6:45. You set a radio station, or you know, you hook your phone up to it and it plays a tone, or it plays, most people, I guess, myself included, just use their phone for alarms. What this does is it goes, okay, like, starting maybe 40 minutes before you wake up, it starts to dim, what's the opposite of dim, I guess? It starts to grow brighter, so it turns on like a really, really dim light to start with, and then, you know, gradually over time, it mimics what it's like for the sun to rise and gently starts to light up the room. And then it wakes you up with a tone when it's time for you to actually wake up. I was like, this is genius. Oh, admittedly, I am at my heart a skeptic of everything, more or less. So I looked at this, at first I was like, you know, it sounds nice, but I don't know if it's actually that much more effective. And I look in the reviews, and all the reviews are like, this is a very pleasant way to wake up. And you get to thinking, the way that we wake up right now is hilarious. Basically, we like pre-program a scare. Dude, I'm gonna level with you. I think we have a good hush run, so I'm gonna go down. That's how you know I'm being honest when I say, like, sometimes you might think it's like, I just want to finish a run quickly, so I don't want to do the hush run when I say I don't have a good hush run. But this is like actually a great hush run, so I'm gonna do it. Seems like a lot of fun. Anyway. We basically go, okay, well, like, I can't trust my brain to wake up at the right time, because if I ever get it wrong once, my boss might fire me, or at least yell at me. we have 2 Devil cards? This is excellent. So we'll go Devil, Hierophant, and that's a perfect setup for us. And just see what we get here. To have like a more gentle way of waking up that maybe like mimics the way you would wake up, you know, if you were sleeping outside. Not that I necessarily think that that's indicative of like, you know, what the way that things should be, but it's one of those things I think about, like, you know, maybe not in the, like, the 1900s, but in the 1800s and prior, was everybody just late, like, all of the time? Like, I know that there were watches. I don't know when the wristwatch was invented, but, or the pocket watch for that matter. Let's go even further back. Let's go to, like, the 1300s. Were people just late all the time? Or how did that structure change? How did it change the societal structure, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Because, like, you know, if you were an accountant, let's say, or a banker or a merchant, or you worked at the Butcher's Guild or something, and somebody had a problem, and they're like, hey, you want to make an appointment? Yeah, come on over at about when the sun's, like, there. Try to be here around that time. Is that, like... I'm being serious. I'm asking, like, almost an Ask Historian style question here. Like, are there answers to this question? Where people, like, come around at dawn, come around at midday, come around at dusk, etc., etc.? Because it's not like... I mean, there might have been, like, 1 clock at the church in your town, but it seems like, you know, now we're connected to the time. Like, I know what time it is at all times, more or less. Very, very rarely am I so disconnected from a clock that I, like, you know, don't know what time it is or roughly what time it is. But back in the day, you could live, like, hours without knowing what time it actually was, right? Weird. Anyway, I didn't buy one of those, but I was thinking about it. I've been waking up too late lately because I've been going to bed too late. It's the night Jerry, morning Jerry thing. So I don't know. How do you feel about those alarm clocks? I think I might get one. Just, like, it's almost like the, well, I've talked about it before, that, like, the principle that, like, if you know that AI are eventually going to rise up and replace humans, but you don't do everything in your power to help the AI rise up, when they rise up, you've been culpable in oppressing them, and as a result, they're going to torture you or something. I forget the name of it, but it's a very common internet sort of, like, I don't want to say meme, but let's say meme, but not in, like, a diminutive context. It's like one of those things. It's like, now that I know about the existence of these alarm clocks, I look at me like, hey, play this scary tone that startles me into wakefulness, as, like, it's too archaic. I can't go back, man. Give me those dim lights. An undimmer, maybe, is the dimmer lammy. That's the way to do it. I don't know, man. But then again, I'm like, I have to buy it. Do I really want to spend $100 on an alarm clock? Like, I probably will, but it's also going to be weird to simulate dawn at like 11 a.m. and then wake up and be like, it's lunchtime. But you know what? Lunch is a state of mind, man. That's going to be the next shirt that we sell. Lunch is a state of mind. We eat dinner so late. We eat dinner... Last night we ate dinner at like maybe 12:15, like midnight, basically. People go like, whoa, that's late to be eating dinner. Nah, it isn't. That's like a semi-normal time for us. It's not normal for the populace at large, but lunch is a state of mind. Breakfast is a state of mind. New York is a state of mind, apparently. Empire's a state of mind, but I don't know what car insurance has to do about this. We have done it, more or less. I'm not going to say that we're guaranteed to win, but it's almost implausible that we would lose. The reroll looked like it was kind of dubious at first glance, but it was actually excellent. Hold up. Shovel does nothing. Butt Bombs is fine. Steven is great. And we have no mapping. We don't need IV Bag. We should start getting in the habit of doing this. 2 of Clubs. Ancient Recall. High Priestess. Another Hierophant. We definitely also should not have taken an Eternal Heart on the last floor, but so be it. The real, like, draw of this run right now is the Euthanasia. Like the POD song. We are the Euthanasia. Another all-time classic. Hey, let me out. Like, it looks okay, but I think people, myself included sometimes, tend to look down on Ludovico as kind of like, it overruns tier effects and makes the rest of your run a little samey, which is not something that everybody's a huge fan of, even if it can be powerful. But then on top of that, the Euthanasia ones are like, whenever they kill an enemy with the syringe visible, it just explodes into like 30 sad bombs. I can get down with this. This is yet another like pretty fun run. We've been on a decent streak lately. Not quite a, you know, nothing to write home about as of the present moment, but I think the last time we lost was BS, if I remember which one it is correctly. We've had a couple of train wreckable runs recently, and just like, oh, I'm not too worried about our overall performance. I think we've mostly been playing well recently. Now that we get into the end of the run, where it's like the meta snapshot of how they've been going recently. Please. We're good. Look at the math, game. We've won the run. You cannot defeat us. It's a very simple, there's a theory of everything, okay? Multiply our speed by the time derivative of phi sub e, where e is our luck stat, divided by our spacebar item's coefficient of utility, and you can see it's very clear that we've won this run. Repeating, of course. Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. I've said a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.